Hola estudiantes, this is Señora Travalla. Today we are going to learn about el futuro en español, the future tense in Spanish. The future tense in Spanish is often referred to as the simple future for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's easy to conjugate. It does not have a lot of irregular verbs, thankfully. It's a close cousin to the conditional tense, so if you know the conditional tense, you'll know the future tense as well. In English, we use helping words like will to indicate the future, but in Spanish, you don't need those extra words. It's just a verb conjugation, and it's simpler to form. And lastly, the endings for the AR, ER, and IR verbs are the same for the future tense, so it's very simple to conjugate. Let's take a look at these verb endings. If you need to pause the video, you will need to write down these verb endings. You need to know these, so this is a good time to get a pen and a piece of paper if you do not have one, and make sure that you put this chart in your notes and you write these verb endings down. The yo form is a, that's E with an accent. The to form is as, A-S, the A has an accent. El, ella, usted is A with an accent. Nosotros, hemos. And ellos, ellas, ustedes, han, and the A has an accent. And of course there's the vosotros form, ais. We're not going to be using the vosotros form, but if you want to know it or you want to challenge yourself with vosotros, feel welcome to do so. Notice that all of the verb endings have an accent mark except the nosotros form. So now let's take those verb endings and show you how to conjugate with them. Normally when a verb is conjugated in Spanish, you drop the endings from the verbs, the AR, the ER, and the IR, and then you add the new ending depending on who is doing the action. But in the simple future, you leave the verb in the infinitive form and attach the future ending right to that infinitive form. And like I mentioned before, the AR, ER, and IR verbs all have the same future endings. So it's super easy to talk about something in the future tense. Here are some examples. Let's take a look. So the first example is I will speak to my Spanish teacher. And in Spanish, that is yo hablaré con la maestra de español. Notice here the verb hablar. H-A-B-L-A-R is the verb hablar. We didn't drop anything from the verb on the conjugation. We just added the E with the accent because that is the yo or the I form. So it's hablaré. Let's take another look at a second example. He will eat at 5 o'clock p.m. That would be él comerá a las 5 de la tarde. So notice the verb comer, to eat, and right on the end we put the A with an accent mark. That is the el, ella, usted ending, and it attaches right to the infinitive verb, comerá. They will live in Chile. Ellos vivieran en Chile. So, vivir, right? And then an. There's no dropping of anything, you're just adding an ending. Also notice here that in English we often, not always, but often use the word will, W-I-L-L, to indicate future tense. In Spanish, that word disappears because we have a future tense conjugation, so the reader or the listener knows that this action is going to occur in the future. So in English, where we had the pronoun and then we stick the word will, W-I-L-L, it's a helping word, and then the verb, will speak, will eat, will live. In Spanish, you don't need that word will. You just need to put the verb in the future conjugation, and that will tell the reader or the listener it's going to happen later on. Of course, there are a few irregulars, as we mentioned before, but the list is not long. So here are the verbs, and in the second column, you'll see their stem change. So a verb like poner, the stem turns to P-O-N-D-R. And you will put the ending of who is doing the action right on the end of the verb. These stems, by the way, the irregular stems, are the same for the future tense and the conditional tense. We will go over the conditional tense later on, but it's worth your while to memorize these stems because they could be used for either the future or the conditional. I suggest pausing the video here so that you can write down all of these stem changers in your notes. This is something you should add to your notes. Let's take a look at some examples of future tense irregular stem changing verbs. So if we wanted to say she will leave tomorrow, that would be saldrá mañana. My parents know the truth because they always do, right? So that's mis padres sabrán la verdad. They know the truth. I will speak the truth. So that's the verb decir. And that's yo diré la verdad. Notice how the endings are going right on the end of the irregular stem. What time are you all coming? Now here, the word will is not written in the sentence, but it's still indicating the future. What time are you all coming in the future, right? It's implied. ¿A qué hora vendrán ustedes? And lastly, Maria will have her homework tomorrow. And that would be María tendrá la tarea mañana. Okay, that's the end of our lesson today on the future tense. Muchas gracias for listening, and I hope to see you soon.